All right, hello, East Central ISD community. My name is Brandon Oliver. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications here at ECISD, and we have a great Facebook Live for you tonight. We hope that a lot of families and parents and students are watching because it is a hot topic right now in regards to social media responsibility. And so I want to bring on right now uh, the main man himself, Shane McKay, Executive Director of Student and Community Engagement. And Shane, how are you doing tonight?
Fantastic, Brandon. Thank you for organizing this. Really looking forward to this evening, and we have a great lineup of panelists that'll be on here to share and impart their experience and their wisdom and knowledge around social media and responsibility and the importance of it.
All right, so I think we should bring on our panel of experts here. We're going to do this kind of like Brady Bunch thing. Where we're all going to kind of share the screen here, just so we can introduce all of our experts. Shane, do you want to do the honors?
Yeah, I tell you what, Coach Hurley, we'll start with you, and we'll just work around Brady Bunch style. So you're up, Coach Hurley.
Certainly. Hi, I'm Shane Hurley, Athletic Director from Arley the Lake University. So happy to be here with all of you today to discuss have this important conversation that impacts so much of our youth today.
All right, and my name is Justine Green. I am a trauma prevention specialist at ChildSafe. At ChildSafe, we work with children who have been abused or neglected, and we offer services to the child and to the non-offending caregiver.
I'm Sergeant Matthew Porter with San Antonio Police Department. I'm assigned to the Southwest Texas Fusion Center, where we assist schools in 42 counties in Texas. And thank you for having us, and I'm happy to be here.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Mary Alice Gomez. I'm the principal at Heritage Middle School for the last 10 years, and so super excited about tonight's conversation. So thank you.
And Misty Phelps. There we go.
Yes. Hello. My name is Misty Phelps. I'm with UT Health San Antonio Department of Psychiatry with the Texas Child Health Access through Telemedicine program. I work also as the Senior Project Manager for the Youth Aware of Mental Health program. And thank you for inviting me today, and hoping to also hear from these great experts. So, thank you.
Hi, I'm Annette Alonzo. I'm the Chief Human Resources Officer for Frost Bank. We provide banking, investments, and insurance services throughout the state of Texas. We have over 200 locations, and I'm excited to share our experience with how we handle social media with our prospective candidates at Frost.
All right, thank you very much. And Mr. McKay, we have a great panel of experts here from all different fields to talk about social media responsibility. And we want to thank them all for coming on tonight, for their time to talk to our community. But Mr. McKay, what would you like to lead off with?
Well, just first and foremost to our panelists, we're just grateful for your time. We know that that's the most precious commodity that any one of us holds. So just thank you for you giving just a little bit of your time to share with our community. I know East Central is very fortunate to have such a great lineup of individuals to share your knowledge and expertise when it comes to all things social media and social media responsibility. So just on behalf of East Central ISD, we want to say thank you. I don't want to spend any much more time talking than that, because I know we've got some great questions that we're going to dive right into. And we want to try to respect everybody's time and finish on time as well. So I'm going to turn it back over to Brandon, and he'll kind of kick us off with some of the importance and urgency around that. So you're up, Brandon.
All right, so I'm going to take down some of these screens here, but I'm going to start off with the athletic director, Mr. Hurley. And again, thank you so much for your time tonight. So we're talking about social media responsibility, and as the athletic director of Our Lady of the Lake University, recruiting is a huge part, obviously, of your program. And so my first question is, how can social media behavior alter an athlete's recruiting?
Sure. Sometimes I think a lot of our kids are under the impression that these things are out there and taken down and nobody else sees it, and the lack of awareness about how other people screenshot things that they see and forward them on to other forms of media, that it almost becomes very hard to trace, but it is still out there. Not just for us to use in college athletics, but even for former or future employers to take a look at. So it's really important that the student athlete, even and regular students, in thinking about their future, think about risk management and potential bosses in the future, potential companies that would be hiring you, a coach who would be recruiting you. One quick Google search, and if something comes up, or it could be something that one of their current team current players has seen on the website. Those are all things that they're going to look at from a risk management perspective to see, is this student or potential student athlete going to uphold the values and ideals of our university? Is it going to be part of the product that we want to put forth on a field or on a court or on a course?
So, yeah, I mean, you have student athletes that, them and their family have been, preparing for years and years, elementary, middle school, high school, driving them to all the practices and all the games and everything. But I mean, can be seriously threatened if there's inappropriate social media use, all of that,
And I think it's so important for some of our kids. They see themselves, and you're talking about the best soccer player on your team, or the best football player, best quarterback that you have, and maybe they're the best in the district, or maybe they're the best in the city, but there's always another city with the best. And you're not just competing against the kids at your school. You're not just competing at the kids within your district or within your city, not just within your state, not just within the country. This is an international market. Recruiting is worldwide. And for every top athlete from a school in San Antonio that wants to come to Arleta of the Lake or UTSA or UIW, there is 100 of them around the world communicating with the coach of that program. And again, that is why your social media is so important, because any negative out there on you can quickly eliminate you from a worldwide candidate pool of applicants who are looking to be the quarterback at your school, or you're looking to go to that school and study, marine biology, and you want to play soccer there. But hey, you've now eliminated yourself because of one thing that you put out as a sophomore, as a junior, or even worse case, repetitively have put out things that are potentially controversial, potential sin signs that maybe there's anger management issues, that you don't have control of your emotions. And, emotions are so important in sports, because to be competitive, we have to control our emotions. We have to help our teammates control their emotions and channel all our energy into a common goal. And if you don't have the ability to control your emotions and control what you do, if you're impulsive, that's not what most people are looking for in putting together a winning formula.
So I think you touched on some of the points for the second question, but can you just say, like, when you have athletes already in the program, what are you looking for? Because I mean, they're obviously going to have active social media accounts, Instagram, TikTok. What do you tell your athletes?
We need character athletes. I mean, athletes are a dime a dozen. There's always a good quarterback. There's always a good running back. There's always a good 3-point shooter. But you need high character individuals that care and place a high value on community, the community of their team, the community of their campus, the community of the area in which their campus is located, the city community, right? That they want to give back to those areas. They want to help others. They want to be involved, not just in athletics, but within that community, and they want to represent it well. We're looking for athletes, student athletes, I should say, that are out there to put all of our programs on the map, as we're community engaging. We're carry a high degree of respect in how they interact with others, and all of that is important, because sometimes forwarding on, it's not the message that you necessarily put together. and put it on Facebook or on Twitter, Instagram, or any of the other forms of media, but it could be something that you just forwarded on. When you forward it on, it looks like you've endorsed it, that this is something that you support, this is something that you believe in. And respect then the amount of respect that people think you have for other people's ideals can seriously be eroded by that. I spoke a little bit about service and community and those ideals and how the importance of them on a campus in a city. Again, and in all aspects of the city, do you have respect for people that have different values and different ideals than yours? Right. And again, we're looking for well-rounded individuals that have a high degree of respect. Again, I'm going to use that high degree of character, that embrace the importance of community, and people that you can trust. Because with our student athletes, coaches are travel and administrators at times are traveling with them out of city, staying overnight. And we need to know that when we say that 11 o'clock is lights out, that 11 o'clock is lights out. When 9:30 is in your room, 9:30 is in your room. And we need to trust those the type of individuals that are going to stay in there, not go out and get into any type of mischief that's going to misrepresent what we're about. Not going to take things on the road that have no part of athletics. And again, looking for leadership skills, people that are willing to speak up about what is the right thing to do versus the wrong thing to do. And not afraid of the pushback from somebody who's doing the wrong thing, right? And is willing to have that conversation. And I do say that it's a conversation. We need people that are willing to have conversations and intelligent discussions that have self-control, not people that are going to blow up with just a little bit of fuel. You've got to be able to not throw more fuel on a fire that's already lit. And so again, those are the type of individuals we're looking for in our athletic programs here at Our Lady of the Lake University, and I'm sure everywhere else throughout the country. And if you find a program that is willing to overlook a lot of grievances, errors, you might want to look into the program more to find out where you're really going and what it's really like once you're going to get there. Because maybe you made some errors and you change your ways and you get overlooked by a couple programs because of that. Well, make sure the program that you're going to go to upholds a better standard of ideals and doesn't embrace some of the wrong ones that you've also demonstrated in your past.
All right, Coach, thank you so much for answering those questions. Just hang out a little bit more. We've had that question and answer just in case
Sure, not a problem.
we get some questions and answers. But now I want to look at it from a legal perspective. So I would like to bring on Sergeant Matthew Porter from the SAPD and Fusion Center as well. And Sergeant Porter, thank you for being here tonight, talking about social media responsibility. And so my question is, when does the First Amendment no longer apply in social media?
Well, we won't ever censor that, but, these children need to be mindful of what they're posting on social media, what they may take as a joke, other people take very serious. And we have seen a lot of instances where these children are posting stuff on their Facebook, their Instagram, their Snapchat, and it's threatening content, and it's getting reported to us. And once that door is open, we open an investigation and we'll look into what exactly was posted.
All right, thank you for that. Next question is, what are some common trends law enforcement has seen with children and social media use?
Well, we've seen, over the past few years that these kids like to post like what we would call shock value. They're posting drugs, they're posting pictures with guns, which is very concerning. They're trying to portray themselves with this online personality that may not necessarily be who they really are. Kids are very impressionable. They want to fit in, and sometimes these kids feel like the best way to fit in is to post this kind of content.
All right, and so my next question is, again, from the legal side, what advice would you give to parents regarding their child social media use?
Yeah, I know the children want their privacy, but I would tell parents, set boundaries on their screen time. They can create accounts and follow their kids to see what they're doing, who they're talking to. Um, tell their children, don't ever send inappropriate pictures to anybody. Do not share personal information online. Parents need to ensure the privacy settings are maximized on their kid's device. Block people that you don't know, people that you don't recognize. Don't engage in sexual conversations with somebody that you don't know or peers. And that kind of goes back to what we call cyber hygiene, just keeping, everything clean, blocking people you don't know, just, being very mindful of who you're talking to.
All right. And so what are a lot of times when kids make a social media post and it's perceived as a threat or perceived as inappropriate, and when confronted, they say, "Oh, I'm just joking. It was just a joke," or "I was just kidding around with my friends," or whatever. So, what are the legal ramifications of posts, even of joking?
Right. So, first off, you have, a criminal case could be opened against you where you actually go to jail. You go to court, and a judge could sentence the child to juvenile. They could get probation. There's a variety of things that could possibly happen because of that. And then you have to look at what we call the administrative side with the schools, and the schools have the right to expel the student. They can put them in an alternative school. So, their life can really get turned upside down by posting something they think is a joke that, others take as a threat. And, I think our area specifically is very sensitive to this because of Uvalde, and rightfully so. And we know the reporting has gone up a little bit since Uvalde. And, we always encourage people, if you see something, say something. And it's our job to look into it, to validate that threat, to see how much credibility there is to that threat. And once we do our due diligence, we'll move in whatever direction we feel is necessary.
All right, Sergeant, thank you so much. I think that's part of it, is that these kids aren't aware of the legal ramifications of, even joking direct messages, even joking posts. And so, they think they can just get away with it,
Sure.
because they're talking to a faceless entity. They're just talking to the East Central Instagram.
Right.
So, I appreciate you, saying what those possible consequences are. I mean, it's not just from a legal, but also from an education standpoint as well.
Sure. It's all about accountability. And, if the parents can make sure they're staying in their children's life, it makes a world of difference.
All right, Sergeant Porter, stick around for a few minutes when we do the Q&A at the very end. But again, I want to thank you so much for your time tonight. I want to now turn from legal to now possible career ramifications. So I would like to bring on Mrs. Annette Alonzo, and she is the Group Executive Vice President and Chief Human Resources Officer at Frost Bank. And Annette, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Absolutely.
So we're looking at it now from a possible hiring ramifications of inappropriate
Sure.
social media use. And so the first question is, in the hiring process and screening of candidates, how does the corporate sector monitor the social media accounts of prospective and current employees?
Certainly. So Frost, just like so many companies, we're value-based. So we're looking for individuals that align with our values, not only by what they say, but through their actions. So we're looking for individuals that demonstrate through their actions that they align with integrity, caring, and excellence. Our social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, they just provide a wealth of information about the individual's personal, professional life, but it also gives a company insight to the potential candidate's character their reputation, their judgment. So our recruiters, both internal and external, they will go and they will serve social media sites for the candidates, looking to see, are their posts offensive? Are their pictures offensive? Are they disparaging? Do they show a lack of judgment? Are they participating in illegal activities? Because we tell our employees at Frost that their actions are a representation of Frost as well, both on and off the clock. So we want to find that out prior to them joining Frost. We want to make sure that they treat people with dignity and respect, that our customers, when we hire someone, can feel confident that they're going to use good judgment, that our shareholders, that our organization, our managers can feel like this is an individual that's going to represent us. We often tell our employees, if you took that post, if you took that picture, would Frost be proud if we put our logo behind it and if we posted that publicly? And unfortunately, there are many times that it's not professional, it's highly inappropriate. And we have on occasion decided not to hire an individual. We've actually had to terminate employees because of inappropriate posts that they've made on social media accounts and platforms.
So you kind of led into my next question, which is what are the potential consequences for inappropriate social media posts to employment, whether past or present?
Certainly. It could be that we pass on them as a candidate, that we're not going to hire them. It could be, if they're a current employee, it could be that their employment is terminated and that they're no longer employed with our organization. We've had individuals that have been placed on final warnings. So there are just a vast array. We've also had customers, based on comments that individuals have made on social media, they've filed charges. We've had employees, because they've made a threat on social media against another person, they've had criminal charges placed against them, which also resulted in them losing their employment. So there is just a wide array of ramifications that can take place. There are consequences for the decisions and actions that individuals take.
And so this one wasn't pre-formatted, Ms. Alonso, but I want to ask it, when you're talking about, the job prospects, whether you're a current employee or a potential employee, and then the social media coming up and saying, hey, we checked out your social media. It looks like you're partying every night, and doing, any sort of inappropriate activities and whatnot. Do they respond back with, oh, well, that's my privacy, that's my Facebook account, that's my whatever account? Do you ever get that kind of response from them?
On a rare occasion, we've had individuals comment that they were not aware that an organization would review their activities outside of a company, and we do share with them. This is something that it really does give us an indication on how they're going to behave if they become an employee. More often than not, they're embarrassed that we as a company have found that information.
All right, Mrs. Alonso, thank you so much. And just hang out for a few more minutes so we can do that Q&A at the very end. But I want to bring on, now that we talked about the employment aspect of this, let's talk about the psychological, the physiology, and all that the wellness of the child. So I want to bring on the trauma prevention specialist from ChildSafe, Justine Green. Justine, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And
yes,
there you go. Yes.
Thank you. I was like, oh, wait, I'm on mute.
And so, first, let's talk about the dangers in social media for children today. What are some, because it's not just parents that care for children, it's also grandparents in a lot of cases. And so what do the parents and grandparents need to be aware of in regards to dangers on social media?
So, as my fellow panelists have already said, there's inappropriate content, there's the risk-taking behaviors, violence, showing pictures with guns, things like that. But the thing that we don't like to talk about the most is the online enticement and solicitations. Majority of it is on social networking sites. It is among our older teens. And unfortunately, it's peer-to-peer. And majority of them are not bothered by it. They either block it or they remove it, handle it however they've been taught to. But in some cases, it does turn into a grooming incident. And the biggest thing I want to touch on with that would be offering gifts. So our Amazon wish lists, they're public. And so if anyone can get in contact or friend your child on any social media, they can also probably get in contact with their Amazon wish list, and they can use that to bribe the child to do things that they might not be willing to do. Be like, oh, if you do this thing for me, I'll buy you something off your Amazon wish list. Another thing that's a big danger is sexting among our older children. With the pandemic, everyone was online. That was the only way we could communicate with each other. And so developmentally, our children started experimenting with relationships and sexual behaviors online or through text messages. And that can have serious ramifications. As our sergeant has said, you could be charged. And also, knowing that if a photo is sent, that child no longer has access to what's going to happen to that photo. Anyone could take a screenshot of it. Anyone could send it to someone else. What's deleted is never deleted once it's on technology. Another big one is cyberbullying. Some examples would be fake accounts, mean or rude comments online, or embarrassing photos like Photoshop, things like that. The biggest thing is it follows your kid home. They may be bullied at school as well. And, at least if they're just bullied at school, they have that, what I call a safe haven at home. But when they're being bullied over technology, it's going to follow them everywhere. It's going to be on their phone. It's going to be on their computer. It's always there. It's constantly in their face, people being mean. And so just realizing that this is a possibility for your children is a big help, especially starting those conversations.
So we did this is an aside, Justine, I'm sorry, but earlier today we did a in-person discussion in regards to dangers in social media, and one of the presenters showed a YouTube video, and it was basically investigative. It was a woman in her 30s, but thanks to AI technology, able to change her photos, and things like that. That's available now. She made an Instagram account as a 13-year-old, posing as a 13-year-old girl, and the amount of direct messages from men was staggering. And so they did another one where she made an Instagram profile for an 11-year-old, and within a minute and 30 seconds of creating the account, she was already receiving direct messages, photos, videos, from these predatorial men. And it's scary. I mean, It's really scary.
Yes, it is. Something we always, because we give presentations to kiddos at the elementary level all the way to the high school level. And the biggest thing we always say is to never trust someone you've met online. You never know, they could be posing as someone else. So someone that says that they may be 13 may be actually 35, and the biggest thing is to never meet someone online or never meet someone offline that you've met online, because that is a big danger for kidnapping, human trafficking, just dangers outside of online, where at least some online you have that protection of that screen where they can't actually physically get a hold of you. If you do meet them offline, that security is no longer there.
All right, so I do want to ask you, what are some ways that parents and grandparents can monitor their children's social media?
So the biggest thing that I always say is you can have filtering software added on. You can look at those privacy settings, understanding what apps kiddos are interested in. But the biggest thing is having that conversation. You're going to want to ask your children what they're interested in. Learn the app that they're on. If it's TikTok, learn what TikTok is, where their privacy settings are, where the report button is. And you're going to want to engage with them. So if a lot of kids like to watch Minecraft or like watch people play Minecraft on YouTube, sit down and watch it with them. Understand what that person is saying, if they're saying inappropriate things, knowing that's what your child is watching. The biggest thing is asking about their friends list, knowing who they're talking to, how they've met this person, and create those family expectations. Every family is going to be different of what boundaries can be set, if they're going to have time limits, things you can post, things you can't post, where one family it may be okay to post vacation photos, another family that might not be okay. And just understanding that other families are going to have different expectations. Another one is, setting boundaries of when they can have access to their technology, not just having time limits on the actual device, but having, okay, at dinner time, we're not going to have our phones at the table. Or, if we're getting ready to go to bed, let's keep our phones outside in the hallway, just so that way, they're not tempted to get online because, oh, it's time to go to bed. Just those type of things, and understanding, you have to have those conversations, and you have to be open and let them know that, hey, if I have a question, I can go talk to grandma, or I can go talk to my mom because something popped up and I don't know what it is. But I know they're not going to get mad at me if I go and ask this question. So just being open and having that open door policy is the best option to communicate with your children about social media.
All right, thank you, Justine. Hang out for just a few more minutes, please, because I want to bring on Misty Phelps and get her expert analysis as well about the dangers of kids and social media. And so, Misty, I wanted to ask you, what guidance can you give parents and grandparents in discussing social media responsibility with their children?
Okay, yeah. I definitely, this is such an important topic, and actually, some of the other panelists have covered some of this information really well. But I guess one of the biggest things that I would stress is to set expectations with your kids early. When children are younger, they tend to be a lot more open to doing things with their parents. And if you wait until they're full blown in a teenage stage to start setting those expectations, I feel like you are met with a lot more resistance. So, knowing that kids are going to start exploring devices and starting to set those expectations with them really early and being consistent all throughout their childhood is important. There are sources like the American Academy of Pediatrics that has an excellent pre-made media plan that is available in both English and Spanish at their website, and it helps you set family priorities around what social media use is going to look like in the family household. And it's something that can be created and edited as the children are growing and changing with their usage. So I would definitely recommend something like that for families. There's also a lot of pre-made social media agreements out there where it just can kind of guide the conversation that parents have with their children. Something I would stress is really going back to what Justine said, communication really matters. And I feel like we're at an interesting time where a lot of parents are still not totally comfortable with social media, and yet their children, may be more comfortable or feel like they know more about it. And so it's important for the parents to dive in alongside the kids. And if they're participating in social media themselves, making sure that they're modeling appropriate uses and even positive uses, because social media can be used for family connections. It can be used for getting involved in the community. So, showing kids how social media can be used in a positive and productive way is really important. Talking with kids about their experiences online. I think this is really important just to get that open door going and asking them what are they experiencing, what do they see when they're out there, and creating that open door where they can feel comfortable asking you questions. I definitely can see that with some children, if they feel like their parents are completely against social media, they tend to want to hide. And so, getting that open communication with the parent and child to talk about what it is they're using and what they're experiencing is super important. And then I would say that, when you're teaching kids rules early, think about keeping those rules very simple, because a lot of times we're saying, think about your reputation or, be respectful. And some of those terms can be a little nebulous. So teaching kids to be nice, thinking twice about what they post. One site has said, "What would grandma say?" Is this really what you would want your family members to read? Using those privacy and safety settings, and again, never interacting with strangers.
All right, Misty, thank you so much. And just hang out for a few more minutes. I want to bring on our district folks now to talk about what we're doing here at the district. So I want to bring on Mary Alice Gomez, principal at Heritage, and Mr. Shane McKay, the executive director of student and community engagement. And so, we've heard a lot of great advice and a lot of great guidance tonight, but now, we've got to look more at the district level. And so I'll ask you both, and you just jump in with the answer. So when the district is aware of a threat, if we receive it, like let's say from a user to our social media accounts, when a district is investigating a negative social media post, what legally can be released to the community?
I'll take that one, and then I'll let Ms. Gomez maybe get the next one. So, our students have a level of protection. It's called the Federal Education Rights and Privacy Act. It's called FERPA, and I know that parents and the community is wanting to know what's happening to the student, who is the student, what can you tell us about what you've done with the student. Unfortunately, we cannot share that information. That student has a level of protection with that. I can assure you that when those events occur, that it is handled with urgency, and it's handled appropriately in accordance with the Texas Education Code, the Texas Administrative Code, and as well as potentially with the Texas Penal Code, depending on the level or the severity of the threat. So, that's like your student and like my student who's in the school system. That particular student also has legal protections with that privacy. So to share or divulge any of that information about that child would be a violation of that child's rights and privacy. So I just I wanted to just share that from the district side. We're not able to share that, but we can share as much as we can, as quickly as we can, when we have all the appropriate information. And Ms. Gomez, feel free to jump in there.
No, absolutely. And just to say, I appreciate all of the reporting that we receive from students and from parents. That's how we know about it. And so we talk to our kiddos every day about being safe, respectful, and responsible. And, I appreciate what Mrs. Phelps said about that. And now, we definitely do need to start thinking about what does that mean when it comes to social media. But yeah, I mean, it's every situation is a little bit different, but with regards to student information, they're a student, right? We have to remember that they also have rights.
All right. And so again, going back to what happens when a district receives the threat. So, what is the procedure once we receive a social media threat? What steps does the district take?
So, every situation is different, right? And so, and I appreciate Sergeant Porter being on today. And so, for example, if the source is unknown, right? Or it's a fake account. So we do then involve ECPD, our East Central Police Department, and then they, of course, then involve the San Antonio Police Department and the Fusion Center. And so everything we do, right, there's a digital footprint. And so once it's identified, then our investigation then takes over, right? And so just like when we think we know who the student is, we start investigating, we start asking questions, we start asking witnesses, all of those main questions, the who, what, when, where, how. And so then we essentially start making contact with the student, the families, and then we communicate as often as we can. And so we want to be sure to tell and inform our community that we know about it. We're looking into it. We're trying our very best and fastest, right, to determine why this student posted what they did. But it just kind of depends. Really, a lot of the things that we deal with day to day is a lot of the inappropriate selfies that, what was mentioned, that people are posting, or taking a picture or a video of another student. Okay. And so then posting that, and then other students commenting on that, or making different inappropriate remarks about that. So we talked about being kind, right? And so we have to stop and think about, what does that mean? Right? And or sharing it, liking it, all of those things, right, imply that we agree with it. And so those are some of the things that we do, but there's a lot that goes into an investigation. And then, then we start talking and looking at consequences. And again, like everyone stated, we're talking about administratively, what does your future look like here at East Central, but then also criminally. So there's a lot of ramifications for posting anything that's inappropriate.
Yeah, and some of those ramifications could be expulsion, sending to the alternative school. Those are the most extreme, and then there could be additional on-campus disciplinary consequences depending on the level of severity. So obviously, utilizing the resources that we have, such that East Central Police Department, the Fusion Center, and even sometimes you, Mr. Oliver, and your ability to help us to do some research, the severity and the level of the impact will result in whatever the potential consequences would be in alignment with the Texas Education Code. So, and then just like Ms. Gomez said, once we receive it, we treat it with urgency. We try to get to the bottom of it. And once we try to gain enough situational awareness and we become aware of who the student is, we immediately contact the parent and the student to make them aware of this concern and what our next steps need to be. And initially, that will be removal from campus until we can get more clarity around the entire situation and then take the next appropriate steps.
All right. So, social media responsibility has made headlines all over the country for different reasons, and a lot of the reasons that we have presented tonight. And so I'm going to see if I can share my screen here with y'all, because I want to show you just some of the examples of it. Let's see. No, it's not letting me here. How about this? There we go. So I think you can see that now. We're seeing it here, and that the social media screenings within employment, it's gaining in popularity. Employers are teaching their teams how to use social media responsibility. We mentioned athletics earlier. Here's a track athlete scholarship pooled for offensive TikToks. University of Florida revokes football scholarship after video surfaces of recruit using racial slur. And then, we see, threats such as this UHART student accused of threats on social media arrested. And then, even at a legal level, California lawmakers, and not just California, but in other states as well, they're taking aim at social media's role in youth fentanyl use as well as sex trafficking. And so I think, there's an obvious, uh, and I'm going to lean on Mary Alice and Shane McKay for this, but I think, there's a fairly obvious, um, that social media presence is a danger in kids' lives if used inappropriately. I mean, there's really no question about that at this point, isn't it?
I would agree. It's definitely dangerous for lots of different reasons. I think for us, what we see day to day, kind of like what I stated earlier about the cyberbullying, things like that. But then it's also the wanting to see who's been commenting on a post I made on Instagram or on Snapchat, or who's saying what or who's doing what, and it is a distraction. And so it's hard to compete with that, right? And so day to day, those are some of the things that we work with our kids on, trying to put limits on that cell phone, not use a cell phone during the school day or in class, and so forth. And so because we know that it is hard to not want to go back there and see who's liked what I posted or who made a comment. But yeah, there's definitely a lot, and not to mention all of those other things that everyone mentioned with regards to, human trafficking, or trying to meet up with kids, or posing as someone else. You just don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll say one more thing, Brandon, is really we talk a lot about we want our students to be career, college, and life ready, right? And we know that social media will be a part of our lives, from here on out. So part of this endeavor, but part of what we hope to impart upon our students is just understanding that digital footprint and understanding the importance of using social media responsibly, and that it will continue to carry with them. We want them to be good people first. And when they leave us, they're able to use better decision making skills that they've been able to gather, and understand that the decisions that they make today will impact them in the future, and then continue to make those good decisions as they move on. So, we just feel like this is at a pivotal point in our careers and education, that we've got to take a stance on really spending time and training and developing our students on being really responsible on social media.
All right, so I'm going to do the Brady Bunch thing again. I'm going to bring on everybody. And so we're going to open it up to questions from the viewers. All you need to do is just comment, and we will address the question. In the meantime, we will just have a roundtable for just a couple of minutes too. And so I wanted to, bring up a couple of things just as the East Central social media, director, and a lot of the messages and things that I've seen, and what I've seen is, and I think some of the panelists have said, follow your kid on social media, but a lot of these kids are making second, third, fourth, fifth accounts, that are totally shut down. I mean, the profile picture will be of like a plant and like no post whatsoever, but somehow have like 300 or 400 followers. And so, do you all want to talk about that? Jump on in, anyone, but are these offshoot accounts that they're making to direct message people that they probably shouldn't be direct messaging?
Yeah, that's actually a big red flag for cyberbullying, is what we like to say in our presentations that we give to our children when we do talk to them. Is there's only one reason why you should have multiple accounts, and majority of the time it's you should have a personal account, and if you own a business. So a business is like, as an adult, I mean, not a child owning a business. It should be, you only have those two accounts. When you have those multiple accounts, it means you're probably doing something you shouldn't be doing, or you're hiding something that you don't want everyone else to see. And so what's happening on those other accounts that you don't want others to see?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're making these accounts that the parents aren't even aware of, in direct messaging and acting inappropriate. We run into it all the time on the district Instagram, where they are getting inappropriate. And the first step is to obviously, review their profile, and it's nothing. It's an obvious fake profile, and so it is. It makes it a little bit more difficult. We did get a question in. Again, if you want to ask a question, just comment and we will bring it up. So Anna here says the teachers in middle school, CAS lead, or high school required a phone for their classes to do research in X and subject. If yes, how could the district help the teachers and students?
Hi, Miss Ana Arayales. She actually is one of our parents and used to be one of our employees here at Heritage. And so she's got some great kids in East Central. And so, fortunately, we are very technology rich at Heritage. And I can't speak for the other schools, but I am almost sure that we have class sets of Chromebooks and technology for our kiddos to use. And so, fortunately, because of our technology, we are able to essentially kind of prevent, right, kiddos from looking into other websites and other places during the school day when they're using our Wi-Fi. And so, but I would agree that we do need to do more with our students and our parents to help them, right, understand, right, when they do have a cell phone, what are some things that they could do or, and or shouldn't do. So then that way prevent any of this from happening.
Thank you so much, Anna, for your question. Yvette Russell, this isn't so much of a question as just a comment, and maybe some of the other folks can comment on here. But she has Google Family Link on her daughter's phone, something that allows me to approve apps, websites, and I believe Google Family is free, if I'm not mistaken. But it can do things like track, the time spent on a device and things like that. What are I'll open this up. What are some other apps that parents can use? Because one of the things I do here, is obviously the parent check the phone, random phone checks. Let me check out your phone. Let me check out your emails and your direct messages and your text messages. But for the ones that, maybe the kids are a little bit older and maybe it's a grandparent, so that confrontation can be a little bit more intense. What are some apps and what are some tactics that parents and grandparents can use that you can recommend?
I'll jump in. I'm not sure if this is still actually on the market, but I know that I have used a device called like a Disney Circle, which is basically like attached. It goes into like your router and it's kind of like a home firewall. But then you, as a parent, you can go in and kind of see what sites people have been visiting. And sometimes it's like it'll even give you the list of like the sub sites, so you can kind of go in and see like the various links. I know when I was raising my teenage daughters, they didn't love it, but it was really something that I felt like we needed for safety. And I don't think that, again, I don't think a lot of parents start doing this early enough, because if they're doing it early, like doing phone checks as soon as the kids have it, then they will kind of grow accustomed to that, and hopefully it won't be such a crisis when you're asking for their phone as a teenager, because they're already used to that. They know you're going to do it, versus if the first time you ask them is when they're 16, then they think, oh my gosh, now they're trying to take down my world, right? But it's very important to just stay in touch with them and ask them about their apps, because there are so many different apps out there. And the scariest ones, in my opinion, are some of those ghost apps where it looks like a calculator, but it could be something completely different.
Yeah, I know. And I mean, looking at the analytics for our district, Facebook is, kind of old book. It's the Generation Xers and the generations before that are predominantly on Facebook. Twitter, it's kind of a mix, but it seems to be almost just exclusively for trolling celebrities, it seems like, on Twitter and politicians. But Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, those seem to be, and then there's some other ones too, but I would say like the major league of social applications for teens and lower too. We've had incidences of elementary kids inappropriately messaging the East Central Instagram account, elementary kids. And so, you tend to think, oh, kids and social media, you instantly jump to teenagers. There's a lot of elementary kids that are on as well. And so, I think, I love the idea of the random checks, the random phone checks, but you're absolutely right. There's these dangerous apps out there, Discord, one of them, but I think the three big ones, if I were to say the big three, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, would you agree with that?
I'll
I-
jump in. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I was
Go
just
ahead,
gonna
go
say we've been polling a lot of teenagers in the work that we do, and we play like a this or that game. And so sometimes we'll say Snapchat or Instagram, Facebook or LinkedIn, which they laugh at because they think LinkedIn is, exclusively for people over a certain age. But by and large, what I see, and I can't wait to hear if somebody else has heard the same thing. They're all about Instagram, the ones that I've talked to.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say. It's either Instagram or Snapchat. I've had a lot of kiddos use Snapchat just to talk to family, but also people can just randomly add you on Snapchat. And sometimes you may think of it, oh, it's a suggestion. Maybe I know this person. And they hit friend, and then they start getting inappropriate messages and they get spammed with things. And so just understanding that if someone doesn't give you their username for Snapchat, maybe you don't accept that person and be like, hey, is this you? Because it kind of looks like your name, but do that in person. So that way you know exactly who you're talking to.
So we got a couple more questions. Yvette asked, is there something that schools can provide, such as when Ms. Gomez stated with restrictions that we could use? I don't know if Mrs. Gomez and Mr. McKay, if you have, we kicked off Social Media Responsibility Week. It's a kickoff. And, the thing with technology is that the kids are always pushing the barriers. 30 years ago when I was an AV club kid, we were the ones that programmed the VCR and had the big clunky, video cameras. And, we were the first ones to play 8-bit video games and things like that. And now everything is here on your phone. This is now your camera, your video camera, your calendar, your messaging service, your email service, your computer. Everything is right here. And so, but it constantly changes, even as, protective apps come out or settings are introduced or policies are introduced. Technology changes extremely fast. And so, Ms. Gomez and Mr. McKay, I don't know if you have anything to add on as far as, stuff that maybe the schools can give out.
I was just thinking about with regards to our service provider, right? If I had a 12, 13, 14-year-old and higher and older, I would definitely be looking out for that. I think about, our Netflix accounts, and I think about all of those different accounts that we have, right? And they all have some type of parental controls. And so my first thing would be not only looking at different apps that I could, install on my phone, on my students' phones, but also what kind of providers that are out there, could they help us with providing for our cell phones, our kiddos' cell phones? They have some responsibility in this too. And I know that as a parent, right? I would want whatever, the schools could provide for me, whatever the service providers could help us with. And so that's definitely something that we need to do more of. And like Mr. McKay and Mr. Oliver just talked about, Social Media Awareness Week, right? That's definitely a good start. And we need to start, teaching our kids about being safe, respectful, and responsible when it comes to technology, when it comes to social media, when it comes to the things that we are sharing with, our boyfriends, girlfriends, each other, and remembering that it never goes away. That digital footprint is there forever.
So this question isn't really pertaining to social media. I mean, it might be. It doesn't really indicate it here. But what is the protocol when a child is being bullied over and over again, even after parents and school staff are aware?
I could jump in on that. Obviously, my first recommendation always with parents when I was at the high school as a principal there as well is to make sure you're taking screenshots of all those things. Oftentimes, once the school is aware, we've created a police report around that and put an incident case number to it. Then we can leverage that to take additional action against the student who continues to bully. So again, the idea is to keep the campus principal aware and engaged in this and what's going on, and be able to bring that to light. So then we can engage potentially and leverage the Texas Penal Code to that event as well. But screenshots always are a big help because now we have evidence that it continues even after we have put measures in place to make it stop. Real important that your child continue to be transparent. Of course, we've always talked to about with our students about blocking certain individuals also from your social media if it's possible. And even at times, it's okay to take a step away from it if necessary. But that's always a tough situation, and we don't tolerate that.
Mr. McKay, I will add also reporting it, right? Reporting it, notifying Instagram or whoever, right? Whichever platform that they're using, that it's inappropriate content. But definitely taking screenshots, sharing that with us. We know, which kiddos are making comments. That also helps us with the investigation, trying to determine who it is, and so forth. But any type of information that you can share with the administrators, with the school, will definitely be helpful.
All right, for Coach, we got a question for Coach Hurley. At the college level, do y'all have a social media policy contract that you have your athletes sign?
Yes, definitely. And that's one of the first things they do as a student athlete. And, there are indirect ways that we monitor their media. So I don't want to say that we actually go to a student's page to go look for their media, because that's not the case. Basically, there's media is all linked to other media. And so eventually, if there's something out there that's not supposed to be out there, it pops up on our media. And it gets addressed very, very quickly. I mean, often within the hour that it happened, they're already getting a message that, hey, that needs to come down immediately. And if it's something more severe, then, there was the case that y'all spoke about earlier, where a student athlete lost their scholarship. And it's important for student athletes and, especially high school kids who want to go and potentially play in college. If they were to receive a scholarship, the old days of everybody's on a 4-year scholarship are over. Almost 99% of the athletes out there are on a annual renewable scholarship that is going to be renewed based on, first and foremost, socially how you behave and how you represent that program, academically as well, how you do. And the last thing is going to be the factor of athletically how you do, and in fact, it's probably a lot easier to lose your scholarship by doing something wrong and, doing poorly in your classes, and a lot easier to lose it by doing something wrong socially that doesn't match up with the values of your university than it is to, well, I came in as a freshman and I had a bad year. We can work with people who have a bad year, because that's just going to happen. Coaches have bad days too.
Thank you, Coach. And one, I think this is just a perception and misconception. The schools themselves can probably activate a technology filter to prevent things. the reality is that we don't have the access to all 10,000 students at East Central ISD, 10,000 plus, to their accounts, to their social media accounts. Now, within the technology here within the network, if they're using a tablet or a phone or a computer that's hooked up to the Wi-Fi in the network here, yes, there are filters for that. But I'm just saying, as a social media person, I can't access little Joey's Instagram account. It doesn't really work like that. Now, once a threat is received, or whatever the threat may be, we can go into action and determine. We can actually locate it all the way down to the device and location that the person is using. But there has to be a see something, say something, a report of some kind, in order for that to happen. I would love, I think, people will probably get sued, but I would love the ability to see inside all their direct messages and posts. But I think there's going to be a pretty big privacy issue. Mary Alice and Mr. McKay, do you have anything to add to that? No, they're shaking their heads. No. Yeah, I love that, because it is a misconception. Oh, the schools probably have a resource, and the reality is we can conduct investigations when reported, but we don't have a magic wand that can go into their applications, look at the direct messages. All right, so I want to be respectful of your time. We've actually gone a little bit over. I just want to open the floor one more time. Anyone that wants to jump in and comment before we sign off for this evening.
I just want to say to my students and my parents that I appreciate when you report things that are inappropriate. It is not okay. We teach our kiddos every day about being safe, respectful, responsible. And that's what we, hope that our kiddos do each and every day. And so thank you to my students and my parents.
Yeah, I'll add to that. Thank you to those parents who got on today, because, you are, I think someone mentioned that earlier, the front line for helping your children learn how to use social media properly. And don't, while we've all been there, it's very difficult conversation to have when you're having to take a child's phone away. But the reality is that, you pay the bill. And if we pay the bill, it's actually our phone and they're borrowing it. And that's why I tell my kids, I said, hey, you're borrowing that phone and I can take it away at any point in time. And that's not me trying to be rude. That's just, I want you to be doing the right things with it and learn to use things responsibly. And in being responsible, it's about thinking about how you use it, how it impacts other people and could negatively impact other people. And if you can't think about those things, then you don't deserve that privilege.
All right. And Sergeant Porter, real quick on that question about that I was asking or actually responding to earlier. Is there any sort of filters that law enforcement have that can go into DMs or maybe search for keywords or something like that maybe throw up some red flags or some warnings?
Yeah, once it gets reported to us, we go through the legal process, and there have been cases where we will get a warrant for the social media account, our subpoenas, and we're able to do a deeper dive into what was being said and on what that account posted. We do a preservation request, so it can't be deleted, and that's more when it comes to the criminal side. But the schools really do, and specifically East Central ISD, we have a very, very wonderful relationship with them. We work very well with their police department. And a lot of times when we get these threats from the school, the administration and the teachers have done majority of the work, which makes our job a lot easier. They've identified kids that are involved, witnesses. They usually identify the root cause of the problem. But to answer your question, yeah, there are steps that we can take to get more of the information.
All right, so I think that'll wrap it up for this evening. I want to thank all of our panel experts again for this discussion about social media responsibility. And I hope you all have a great night, as well as everybody watching. And again, want to thank everybody for their time and say good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.